welcome back to the Rave Social Podcast. I'm your host, Jaiden, and today we have a special guest. Danielle is with us. I'm going to intro Danielle, and I'm just going to read her bio because she is incredible and I don't want to mess it up. So to let you know about Danielle, she is an industry leader in human design, trauma healing, astrology, meditation, breath work, and somatic healing, all of which have personally brought her back from some pretty epic burnouts. She's pivoted careers many times, built multiple six-figure businesses, and is a master manifester. In 3 years, she's built Danielle on the Daily Inc. to a 7-figure brand. Crazy. She has coached hundreds of men and women looking to leave the current business paradigm behind and are only interested in a delusional and beautiful life with no limits. Hi, it's me. She's a master of supporting you in living a life that feeds your soul and having a business that is centered around your life context. Her specialty is depth and seeing her clients' blind spots. She believes that when you know yourself, you win. With her extensive education and experience, she guides and gives her clients the tools necessary to scale a massive and sustainable life and business, one that is completely out of the matrix. So she's incredible. We found each other on Threads because we've invited her on today to talk about astrology, pop culture, marketing, kind of like all of that together. So welcome, Danielle.
Oh my gosh, well, thanks for having me. I love when people read my bio because I'm like, oh wow, that's me. There I am. So
You're like,
when we do
hello.
that.
I love that so much. Yeah, you really are amazing. I mean, when I read this, I was like, that's crazy. You've done so much. And it just makes sense. Like, obviously, you've done a lot of like work personally. So it's really cool. Yeah.
Thanks.
And today we're going to talk about Taylor Swift and Kendrick Lamar. We kind of chose like two like celebrities that are kind of like, I mean, they're obviously very big, but they're also very big right now.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about their birth charts, astrology, and kind of like how that's led them to where they are now. So let's dive right in. Do you want to start with Taylor or Kendrick or?
Let's start with Taylor because I feel like the Eras tour ended and we're all really sad about it. So let's like reminisce with Taylor first.
Okay, I love that so much. Are there any notable things you want to touch on?
Well, okay, so I really love how you said we met on Threads because like when I first saw your thread, you're like, does anybody want to come on and talk like marketing? And I was like, I love marketing, and I'm always it's like the way that I approach marketing, pop culture, anything is like obviously as an astrologer.
Yeah.
If somebody is doing something cool, like the very first thing I do is I'm like, I have to know what their chart is. Like I have to know what's happening behind the scenes because that gives it just like gives you so much. And I think the most notable things about Taylor, I saw the Eras tour twice. I'm not okay. I have to say this. I'm 37. I grew up with Taylor, right? So like,
yeah,
I grew up with her, but I would have never said I was like a huge fan. Like I would have never said I was a Swiftie until the Eras tour. And I think what it was is I was watching this thing like blow up and watching her like net worth increase and her visibility increase. And obviously like my background is in neurolinguistics programming. So I work really well with like rewiring the subconscious mind. And like for me, celebrities, I've always been super, and I have a master's in acting. So like, this is my home, right? Like I grew up a
so
professional
cool.
dancer. Yeah. Like I was a professional dancer when I was 16. Like I grew up in this industry so I love celebrities, but I think what I love most about celebrities is like the amount of healing you have to do to your own visibility wounds to be able to have and access that level of fame. Because like fame's a resource.
Yeah, right? I saw you said that the other day and I was like, whoa, like I love that reframe so much. And it's like so true. To do a little side tangent, but like like last year I was like, I could never go viral. Like I could never have that many people looking at me. Like I'm so scared because I work on the back end of some big influencers and I'm like, I see the hate they get. I'm like, I could never handle that.
Right.
And then finally, like one day I was like, you know what? I can do it. Like I can handle it. Literally like that week, I had like 3 pieces of content go viral and it was like okay. Like, obviously, you have to be okay being seen.
I love to look at when I see a celebrity like killing it, I'm always like, what's happening behind the scenes of this person? Because it's not ever by accident. And everyone's like, the people that are like, I don't believe in astrology. I'm like, babe, it's not something you believe in. It's like, it's a radio frequency. Like you're either tuned in or you're not. And
Yeah,
so
like it will happen regardless.
literally. So Taylor is a Sagittarius sun. She's a Scorpio rising and she is a Cancer moon, which, like, fun fact, you know how many artists are Cancer moons? Like, there are so many singers and songwriters that are Cancer moons, like Gaga, Ariana Grande, like I think Harry Styles is one. So many Cancer moons because there's this like, it's a water sign. Cancer is a water sign. So it's
Yeah.
intuitive, it's dreamy, it's empathetic. It's kind of like, I always say Cancer is like the mother willow, like the grandmother willow of the zodiac. So they're
Yeah.
always very tapped into what the collective needs. So when you look at like Taylor's songwriting, she's like so good at like understanding herself, but then like communicating that human experience outward into other people.
Yes.
And like and it's funny because like I'm a Sag sun and a Scorpio rising also. So that was part of the reason I got like super into her and why I think I became a Swiftie during the Eras tour. Cause like she was
Yeah.
doing things that I'm like, I would do that. I'm like, she has to be a Scorpio rising. Cause like
Yeah.
Scorpio rising. Like we are deeply, when you were like, oh my gosh, you've done so much. That's Scorpio energy. So she's lived 95 lives within her 35 years of existence.
Yeah.
And the thing with Scorpio is like death and rebirth is really just like who we are. Like
Mhm.
I always tell people, if you knew me 6 months ago, no, you didn't. And I feel like Taylor, that's one thing about her. And when you look at like the way that her team puts her out into the world and the way she markets her brand, because like Taylor Swift is a brand, right?
Yes,
So
certainly.
when you look at how she puts herself out into the world, it's always through death and rebirth. Like every album is a new era. That's why it was called the Eras Tour. Every era of her is like a different phase of her life that I think is like so real with Scorpio energy, because we're always, it's the planet or it's the sign of death and rebirth and transformation, right? So
Yeah.
this energy that she comes to each album with, it's like we're in a completely different world, we're in a completely different land, we're in a completely different timeline almost. Whenever
Yeah.
she puts, you look at like Lover versus Folklore, these are completely different worlds that we're visiting, right? So that to me
Yeah.
is very Scorpio.
Do you feel like her little like clue games that she plays, like to me that feels kind of Scorpio, because Scorpios can be like a little like sneaky or like private about certain
Yeah.
things. So it kind of
Yeah.
feels like it leans into that.
100%. And she has this, her midheaven. So midheaven in astrology is it's like the top of your chart, but it's also your career and public image. It's like what people know you for. It's your reputation is your midheaven. Most Scorpio risings, myself included, we have our midheaven is in Leo. So it's
Okay.
on our 10th house. So we have this juxtaposition, and her 10th house is still ruled by Leo, but because of where her birthday is, like her rising is just a little bit farther off. So it kicks her midheaven into Virgo in the 11th house instead of Leo in the 10th.
Leo.
But her 10th house is still ruled by Leo. And I think all people with Scorpio rising, there's this juxtaposition between what we want to keep private, but then also our career and public image is ruled by Leo. So it's the fame placement. It's shiny energy. We're meant to be seen. So at work, she's meant to be that girl, and she is that girl. But then there's this
Yeah.
like, she keeps a lot private. It's like when she's not on tour, you don't really hear from her unless she decides that you're going to see her, right? So
Yes.
it's like, I think people think like, oh, they caught her out at dinner. And I'm like, no, babe, like
She wanted to
if
be
she doesn't
seen.
want to be seen, you're not going to see her. And that
That's
also
crazy.
but it's crazy. But it's also like with her Virgo midheaven, these like little Easter eggs that she leaves for people, like that's very meticulous and it's very calculated and it's very, it's like people always say like she's planned things out 2 years in advance. That's
Yeah.
very Virgo, because Virgo is it has a lot of discipline. It has a lot of structure. There's lots of plans. There's lots of details involved. But then at the same time, she has her 10th house ruled by Leo. So it's very public, and it's her
professional life is very public and it's very out there on display, and there's all these public appearances, and it's like even her fans, they have this mastermind of like what she's going to wear each night for the tour. Like that's very Leo. That's very Scorpio Leo
Yes.
juxtaposition. And I think I'm super impressed by her because as someone with a Scorpio rising, there's a lot of visibility wounds for us because there's no mask with a Scorpio rising. Where most signs there's a mask and there's this, I'm going to put out what I think you want me to be. And then if you don't like that, I'll just change my mask. But for Scorpio, especially in the rising, like there is no mask. Like really who we are is who we are. And there's such a radical authenticity to it. So when you don't like us, it's not the mask you don't like, it's us. So it's a very
Oh,
personal placement.
personal.
Yeah. And so when you combine that with the fact that in our career and public image, we are meant to be very shiny and very front and center, I'm always like, the amount of healing she's had to do on her own visibility, huge.
Which I feel like she has done. Like, I do feel like in her evolution, like there were times that she did go away, and it was like, I think she was hurt by the media, by how people were perceiving her.
Yeah.
So it's just so interesting to know that and be like, that was part of the plan of the cosmos.
It's all part of her chart. And it's like when she disappeared before Reputation came out, that is such a powerful representation of a Scorpio rising. Cause like she literally went away. Like think of a scorpion, right? Like they'll disappear, they'll shed their skin and they'll come back. And like, that's kind of what she did. And when she came back, she was like even shinier, but she also like Virgo too, like with the Virgo midheaven. This is why, like, did you see like the Miss Americana documentary she did?
No. Oh, actually I did. I didn't finish it though, but I did start
Okay,
it.
so on that documentary, if you're listening to this, go watch it on Netflix because there's this part where she's listening to hear if she got nominated for a Grammy for Reputation, and her agent or whoever it was like, no, it was probably Tree Payne, her publicist. Like she was like, no, you didn't. And she's like, okay, well, we just have to make a better album then. And that's like that's also a Scorpio energy. She's a Scorpio Mars also. I too am a Scorpio Mars. She's also the Scorpio and Pluto generation. So when you have like those three placements all in Scorpio, which, every sign, for those of you who are listening who are new to astrology, every sign has a ruler. So Scorpio is ruled by both Mars and Pluto. Mars is the planet of war and the planet of action. Pluto is the planet of death and rebirth and transformation. Not all signs have two rulers, but Scorpio does. It's co-ruled by Mars and Pluto. So when we always, you might have heard like, what's your chart ruler? Based on your rising sign, that sign has a ruler. And so for a Scorpio rising, our chart ruler is Mars and Pluto. But Taylor Swift also has her Mars and Pluto, like her natal Mars and Pluto in Scorpio. So it's like,
oh, she's like very Scorpio.
100%. Yeah. And like I have those same placements, and it's like the experience of that on a personal level is so crazy because it's like literally you're here to die and be reborn and to grow, and it's a power placement. Like Scorpio Mars is power. And there's this sneakiness. Like I like how you said that. It's a sneakiness. Like if she doesn't get what she wants, like Scorpio Mars, Scorpio rising, we can play the long game. And she did. She played the long game and she's like, great, we'll just come back with a better album. And then she did. And then she came back with an even better album. And since Reputation, you just look at the career trajectory she's had. That's not by accident. That's like very Scorpio Mars energy. Like, oh, okay, you're going to not give me what I want and I'm not good enough. Great. I'm going to go and I'm going to refine myself and change and shift and grow as many times as I need to until I'm literally unstoppable. And like now she's the wealthiest woman in the world, basically. And
That's so
also
crazy.
like has had the most growth. She's had the most streams. She's had the most success. And it's like, that's not on accident. When you look at her chart, like it really, really makes sense.
What about her chart do you feel like makes her, like, people love her? Like an insane amount. Or they hate her. But I want your perspective on this, but it's like, I feel like more people love her than hate her.
For sure.
And
For
like,
sure.
what is that? How is she like doing that?
So that's a Scorpio rising. That's a Scorpio placement. So, but it's also, she's in her human design, she's a 5/1 splenic projector. 5 lines. So certain signs, certain human design lines have what we call a projection field around them.
Mhm.
And that means like we can feel like Scorpio rising is 1. Scorpio placements are 1, 6 line in human design, a 2 line in human design. No, not a 6 line. Sorry. A 5 line, a 2 line, Scorpio,
Wait, I think
Leo.
I'm a 5/2.
Yeah. So you have a double projection line. So you'll relate to this. And what's your astrology? Do you have Scorpio or Leo in your chart?
I'm a Scorpio moon.
Right. So you'll understand this. So anyone with Scorpio, Leo, 2 lines or 5 lines, that we have the ability, like when we walk into a room, like I know exactly, I can see through someone the second I walk into a room, and I know what they feel about me. And every time, like
Oh
I can
yeah,
tell
I'm so that
immediately.
way.
100%. Oh, you have it double because you have that double projection line plus a Scorpio moon. You have, it's like the ability to walk into a room and know exactly what people think of you. Taylor has that in her 5 line. She also has that in her Scorpio. She also has that in her no, she's not a Leo. She has that in her Scorpio energy, and she has that in her 5 line. So she knows what people think of her. And so that's why, like, you look at like the song Antihero, she literally, that's like her projection field at work. She's like, you know, like some sort of congressman, like, this is a tale as old as time. Like, you're going to hate me. I can see it now. They're going to be wondering like where their money is. That's because like we have this ability with Scorpio placements to be like, oh, I know how you feel about me. But we attract a lot of projection. So people will project their fears, they project their desires, they project their insecurities onto us. And so it's like, I always say, like, anyone with a Scorpio rising or Scorpio moon, a Scorpio sun, people either love you or they hate you, and there's zero in between. Like, and
It's crazy.
and that's been my experience. I don't know if that's been your experience, but it's like there's a lot of projection. So people will literally hate a Scorpio placement just because they breathe. Like, it's just,
They just like
there's
don't
this
like that you
magnetism
exist.
to it. And with a Scorpio rising, with our 10th house ruled by Leo, the way people walk into a room with this placement, and I know people have said this about me, we don't always like notice it, but I notice it in others. So it's like, you watch the way Taylor walks into a room, you watch the way like when she's walking from the car to dinner and people are just like staring at her, that attracts either a lot of love. So if people are like inspired by power and they've healed their own internalized shame or internalized misogyny, we see that as like amazing. So
Okay.
where that is, it's like, it's her 5 line in human design, but it's also her Scorpio placements. It's like the ability to know what people think about you. And then the
Like
more she heals her, like the more she doesn't absorb it. Cause I think when she was younger, she absorbed it.
yeah.
And that's why she attracted a lot more haters in the past.
Yeah.
But also, like, that's just the universal law of attraction and vibration. It's like, or if you think about like the universal law of rhythm and polarity, that's Newton's 3rd law of physics. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So she couldn't have gotten to this level of fame and accessed this level of fame unless she was going to have equal people hate her. So I feel like the more famous she gets, the more polarizing she's going to become.
Yes. Okay. So this is a little off subject from Taylor Swift, but like other celebrities that aren't as big as Taylor, like that equal and opposite, could it be like not that people hate her, but could it be that people don't know you exist? Like, what is that opposite reaction that's happening for like other people that are growing but not that big? Like, what is it?
Yeah. So let's like talk about like Chapel Roan. Okay. So Chapel Roan getting really big right now. She has definitely not healed her visibility wounds. And you know this if you follow her on TikTok, because she's on there being like, my mental health and I have to cancel shows and like, stop being mean to me. And I always say, I'm like, she's so talented. And this is my problem. This is why I work with a lot of artists. Like a lot of my private clients are singers, musicians, celebrities, and we work a lot on their visibility wounds through their astrology and human design, because so many artists, it's not their talent that keeps them from accessing fame. It's their visibility wounds.
Oh my God, my fiance is going to love this. He's an artist. And when he hears you say that, he's going to be like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's not their talent. Like artists are so talented, but usually like people that are artists, creative singers, songwriters, poets, musicians, like whatever it is, actors, painters, art is so deeply personal, right?
So
You're
personal.
usually creating art from your own personal experiences. And that's really beautiful, but you have to simultaneously be healing your visibility wounds so that you can have more access to the resource of fame. So when we look at someone like Chappell Roan, I've been saying this forever. I'm like, she's going to have to heal her visibility wounds if she really wants to access the level of fame that's clearly available to her. Like, I always feel like around her, there's this like, I feel like the universe, like Sky Daddy, God, whatever you call it, like
Sky Daddy.
like, yeah, Sky Daddy. That's what I call it. Like Sky Daddy is literally like, bitch, you are ready to be so famous. You are ready to be so visible, but you have to heal your visibility wounds. You have to heal this fear of being seen. So I think for her, it's like, she almost got canceled last year. Like Chappell Roan almost got canceled because people are like, it's like her frequency is expanding, but her visibility wounds are still alive and well. So I think when it's like, you look at someone like Taylor Swift, you look at someone like Kylie Jenner, right? Okay. So like Kylie Jenner's a Leo sun. She's a Capricorn rising. She's a Scorpio moon. So she has that Scorpio energy as well. But you think about the level of healing to her own visibility wounds she had to do to get to where she is. She can't care at all what people think about her. And I always say, like, your success in the industry is directly correlated. Like your level of success in the industry is going to be directly correlated to the level at which you're willing to be misunderstood, AKA the level at which you heal your own visibility wounds.
So
right?
What do you feel like happens when people do get canceled? Because like I've seen it time and time again, like these people get canceled and they literally disappear. Like they will be like, I cannot be seen. And some of them never recover. Like what is the difference?
Well, it's the difference between healing your visibility wounds or not. So people that haven't healed their visibility wounds, people misunderstand them and they go, you're awful. We're going to cancel you because we hate you. And they go, no, like that's not who I am. And like, oh my gosh, people misunderstand me. So now I'm just going to go disappear. So the difference between somebody like Taylor Swift, the difference of somebody like Kendrick Lamar, like Kylie Jenner, the Kardashians, these people that just have this like unreal amount of fame.
Yeah.
The difference is they were able to go, I am uncancelable because I know who I am. And it's not up for discussion.
Wow. That's so
crazy. You can hate me as much as you want. You can project your own misogyny, your own, not even like outward misogyny, right? It's like how we're raised, like it's our programming. We're all raised to feel really bad about ourselves in the presence of power. So our own ability to heal that is how we access fame. Because there's a part of your brain, our brains aren't wired for fame. They're wired for safety. And
fame is not safe.
No, fame is not safe because it's the unknown. And it's like if I were to ask you to close your eyes and visualize like 1 million people, you couldn't because you've never seen it. Like I can visualize 80,000 people because I've been in a concert at the Eras Tour with that many people, but that's about it. So you have to be willing to heal the part of your brain that's like, no, this isn't safe. And the way you do that is through like, obviously like nervous system regulation, but I like to look at people's charts to be like, okay, this is where you're going to have to heal this. And like for somebody like Taylor, she's had to heal the fact that because she's a Scorpio rising, she's always going to be misunderstood. People are always going to misunderstand her. Like, people are like, oh, all she cares about is like money, or like, she just jets away in her private jet. And, or they say, all she writes about is her ex-boyfriends. And it's just this, people just misunderstand her. And so for her to access fame, she had to heal the need to be understood so that she could step into who she's meant to be and be like received by the right people. But by being received by, like, if you're not strong enough to repel the wrong people, you're never going to be strong enough to attract the right people. And I think these people that have really accessed the resource of fame and like been able to market that and like capitalize on that, they've been able to like release the need to be understood.
Yeah, you would have to, or else you would just spend like every day of your life trying, like honestly, like Chappell Roan, like trying to explain who you are. And it's like,
Yeah.
We actually
Yeah.
don't care.
No, like I don't actually care. And like, if you don't agree like with politics or if you don't agree with what, like, that's fine. Like just speak it.
Yeah.
And then just like, don't worry about what people are going to say, because like, obviously in this climate, if you come out and you are a queer woman who sings about queer things, and then you say like, but I don't agree with either political side, clearly people are going to misunderstand that, because you being able to say that indicates a level of like unplugging from the matrix that a lot of people haven't done.
Yeah.
So your ability to like I say this a lot, like I'm married to a woman, and I always say my sexuality is the least interesting thing about me. And I get in trouble a lot with the LGBT community, because I'm like, a lot of you are operating from such a place of unhealed trauma, of needing to be approved of, needing to be validated. So you like, and it's like, if you seek that external validation, then you're never going to be able to stand on your own 2 feet. And I think that's what Chapel was experiencing. I think she's done a lot of work on this, because like she kind of disappeared and then she got like really famous really fast again. So
yeah,
I do think she's working on it, but she's going to have to do that. She's also a Pisces, you know, she has a lot of water in her anyway. And anybody with Pisces, like they're artists. They're deeply wounded artists that just want to like flow like fish in the water. But it's like, if you're a Pisces, you're meant to be a rainbow fish.
Yeah, those poor babies. I'm always like, you have so many emotions. Like,
so many emotions.
I'm so sorry.
So many emotions. And it's beautiful, and we need it. And like, we're in the Pisces, like the North Node of the collective is in Pisces now. So like the collective in general is moving more into an intuitive, artistic, dreamy, delusional, artistic place.
Yeah.
So it's time for the artist to come forward. It's time for the artist to come front and center. But the way that they're going to do that is by healing their visibility wounds.
Okay, that's crazy. And that just like anyone who's listening to this, like that obviously applies to like your business as well. Like, yes, we're talking about celebrities. Yeah, but it's like, that's your business too. And like, oh my gosh, something that I was just talking to a friend of mine about is like her content like goes viral all the time, and it's not that good. Like, it's not that good.
It's not like super deep. It's not super like
no, it's just like literally so chill. And then there's like other people, I work with clients who like we're creating incredible content for them that should go viral, and like they don't go viral. They don't go viral, but like she does so effortlessly, and it's like she's obviously fine being seen.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Like I say this a lot to people. I'm like, the real reason you haven't gone viral is not because you're not talented. It's not because you don't have good things to say. It's because you haven't regulated your nervous system to feel safe being seen. And, you know, if I always tell people, I'm like, if you're a person who's like trying to go viral, but then you also talk shit about celebrities, then that tells me everything I need to know about your nervous system, because you have this balloons. You have this internalized shame around fame that's going to keep you from going viral. And like, oftentimes, like, people don't need another marketing strategy. They don't need another like tool. They don't need another system. They just need to work with someone who's going to help them regulate, not even regulate it for them, like help them regulate their own nervous system so that they can feel safe being seen by a lot of people. You know, and like on a very like business level, like if we're not even talking fame, we're talking like you and I who are just building businesses, like what that translates to is like your comment section becomes none of your business.
No,
like, it
seriously. Yeah, you can't.
Like I tell people all the time, like I tell my clients, I'm like, if you hit over 250,000 views on any platform, like that is no longer your content. That content belongs to the internet now. And like, it's none of your business. So you just have to like, let it go. Cause like, there's a very clear, like when, you know, I mean, you work in marketing, like when you work with influencers, like there's a line, and it's like, when that reel or that video crosses a certain amount of views, it's going to reach the wacky side of the internet so fast. But that's literally everything we're talking about. Like you cannot attract the right people unless you're willing to repel the wrong people.
Yeah. And the wrong people do like to leave a comment. And it's like, thanks so much for engaging on my post. Have a good day.
Have a good day. Thank you so much. Yeah,
Thanks.
that's it. So it's like,
Crazy.
You look at people like Taylor Swift. It's like, And it's interesting because if you look at like Taylor doesn't follow anyone on social media. She's followed by millions and hundreds of millions, but she doesn't follow anyone. Her comments are turned off on her posts. Taylor Nation, sure, comments are open.
Yeah.
But like Taylor Swift, her comments are off.
Yeah.
She doesn't follow anyone. She literally doesn't do meet and greets anymore. She gets off her show. She goes straight to her private jet, gets on, flies away. Like, and so many people will love to hate that. And they're like, she doesn't engage with her people. She doesn't care. And it's like, no, it's just, she's a projector too. So like we can talk about her human design. Like projectors have a very small but very efficient battery. The only way that a projector is going to be able to perform a 3-hour show multiple times, over 100 times, almost for 2 years, is if her boundaries are like rock solid. And so
she can't just be like accessed all the time.
Yeah. She doesn't need to be like, you don't need to interact with her directly in order to feel like, that's why so many people have such a parasocial relationship with her, because she's really good at making you feel like she sees and hears you, but she's actually not ever connecting with like anyone personally. She has a very small circle. She leaves the show and goes straight to her jet, disconnects from everyone else's energy. And like, that's boundaries. That's healing your own visibility wounds. Like she doesn't need to be approved of. She doesn't need to be liked by the wrong people. She doesn't need to be understood, because if she really disconnects from who hates her, she's the most famous person in the world.
Yeah, definitely. Oh my God, that's crazy. Is there anything else you want to talk about Taylor Swift before we get into our guy, Kendrick Lamar?
Well, let's just like, because I know everyone's like, well, what about her and Travis? Like, tell me about
that.
Like,
yes.
Yeah, everyone wants to know about her like love life. Like, I think it's really interesting because she's a Sag and he's a Libra, and Sag and Libras just go so well together because there's this like energy between a Sag and a Libra that's like, let's just go on adventures. And like the more that they travel and go on adventures together, that's why, when everyone's like, is she going to fly back to go to the Super Bowl? Not this year, but like last year.
Yeah.
Is she going to fly back from Singapore to go to, and I'm like, of course she will, because that's how Sag and Libras like find love, is like through adventure and through like just traveling. And so I thought that was really interesting, but she's also like an Aquarius Venus. So love for her is always going to be, she's gone through she's had a lot of loves, and it's like, it's forward thinking. So she's looking for like out of this world love, and love that's like, so, because Aquarius is forward thinking. It's disruptive. It's revolutionary. So like, she's always been looking for like a revolutionary love. And I feel like with Travis, like it's so beyond the comprehension of like I'm like, these people are both at the top of their game. They're literally the most famous people in their fields. Like, it just makes so much sense. But I also was like, oh, this is cool because she lost at the Grammys. He lost the Super Bowl this year. This is going to be really good for them to like experience loss, what it means to lose together, because their whole relationship has been a winning season.
Yes.
And so it's really cool to see them in kind of a losing season and how they're going to work through that. But I think this is it for her. Like, I really think that this is her man, and like this is the person she's been waiting for, because just so many parts of both of their charts are so complementary of one another. It's cool.
And like, to me, she's so feminine, like the most feminine, and like she has to be with like a masculine, like a strong masculine energy, or like it's not gonna work. And like, I feel like in the past she's dated a lot of like artists, and not that artists are like have to be feminine, but it does seem like they lean that way for her. And it's like, but you need like structure, like you need I don't know, like a masculine energy. Yeah.
And like she does have feminine energy, but like she's also like, she's the most wealthiest businesswoman in the entertainment industry. So that's very masculine as well. And Scorpio Mars is a very masculine placement. It's a power placement. So like she also needed, because she also has so much masculine energy and she's a boss, and like, like, sure, Tree Payne, her publicist, runs the show, but like Taylor put her there. So like, Taylor may be feminine, but she knows how to be in her masculine. And I think, she wants to attract these artists because she has this Cancer moon that's like all about art and dreamy and poetry and, walking by the river at night. But she's also like a boss bitch who like has her shit together. And so she really needed a man that was like confident in his own masculinity, because she can be in her masculine so well that she needed somebody that was almost like even more comfortable in their masculine energy.
Yeah. Oh,
but also comfortable in his feminine. Like he's a Libra, so he's super confident in his feminine energy as well, which is good because there are times where, she's the breadwinner. Like there's not times where she's the breadwinner. She's always the breadwinner.
Yeah.
So he also has to feel confident receiving, which a lot of men are not confident in their feminine energy. And so I think he really is, and he can receive from her just as well as he can give to her.
Yeah. I love that so much. Yeah. Okay, we'll talk a little bit about Kendrick. We don't have to spend as much time on him. But kind of like as we get into them, I feel like a point in which they really like cross is like they've both been involved in a lot of controversy, like Taylor and Kendrick. So like what about them attracts that? Yeah. I know we've talked about the push and the pull, but why are they both getting that?
Kendrick is a Gemini.
Oh, I'm scared of Geminis.
I am married to a Gemini, so like I'm not as scared of a Gemini, but I actually think the scary, because he's a Gemini sun, he's a Pisces moon, so he has that water moon also, and then he's a Libra rising. And I actually think everyone thinks Scorpios are the scariest placements of the zodiac. I think Libra is the scariest placement of the zodiac, because there is this charm that comes with a Libra that is like, they're so charming and they're so friendly, and they put on this like essence of like, everything's great, like everything's fine. But you think a Scorpio plays the long game?
Libra I'm scared.
Will wait. What? Yeah. Oh, a Libra will wait forever. And then at the moment you're least expecting it, they will like sting. And so you look at the way that Kendrick, him and Drake were in this like battle over the last couple of years, and he puts out this diss track and everyone's like, oh, wow, that's a really big song. And you think it's over. And he's like, yeah, that was fun. I put out this diss track, la-di-da. And then it kind of goes away for a while. But then he goes to the Grammys and he wins every award he's nominated for that diss track, right? And then you think it's like, oh, that's it. And he's going to the Super Bowl next week. And, Drake's team like threatened to sue if he performed that song. And like, there were all these allegations that like he wasn't going to perform that song and he wasn't going to do it. But then it's like a Libra rising is literally going to wait until the very perfect moment. And they will get their revenge. And it was like the revenge came at the Super Bowl on like the country's largest stage. And then not only does he choose to perform that song, he like dangles it the whole time. And then he like looks right at the camera and is like, hey, Drake. And it's like, that to me is so Libra.
Oh,
but
wow.
It's also, he has a Pisces moon. So again, he's so connected. He's so intuitive. He's so aware of the collective energy he's around. So he knows the perfect moment. He can wait for the perfect moment. He can feel into the perfect moment. And he does it with such charm and grace that like, none of us were like, oh, that was kind of fucked up. Like everyone was like, oh, like he did that.
No, for real.
Like, okay, he did that. So I think like his whole performance, like that was so, if you ever want to know like what it means by a Libra will play the long game.
That's
like,
it.
That's what they mean. And they do it in such a way, like, okay, so let's talk about like the Super Bowl. Nobody takes, I don't know if your listeners know this, but you don't get paid to do the Super Bowl. Like, nobody pays you, but you use it usually as like a way to market something coming, right? So Rihanna, she dropped her new Fenty line, like the new Savage Fenty line afterwards. She dropped more makeup and it sold out in like 2 seconds. Like if we don't even talk about the Super Bowl, like you think about the Netflix like halftime performance that Beyonce did, immediately after that, Cowboy Carter won Grammys and she announced a tour. Like last time Beyonce performed at the Super Bowl, she announced a tour right after and an album, and then she got Coachella. So like a lot of artists use it as a way to promote something. And like, sure, Kendrick announced a tour, but they did it in one post on his Instagram like 2 days later. But he used, like, his Libra used that to say, I actually win this battle. Thank you so much. Like, he used it to shut it down. And, you know, he's also, because he's a Pisces, he also can he's a Pisces moon, so he can understand like cultural relevance. And so like the political commentary and the social commentary that he used was so deeply connected to the collective, and people really felt it. You know, and then he's also a Gemini, so he's just cool, and he has this way with words. Like, a lot of rappers are Geminis, actually. Yeah, Kendrick, Tupac, Biggie, Macklemore, Lauryn Hill, Kanye. A lot of rappers.
How do you remember
are Geminis.
all of this?
I mean,
like,
it's just
how do you remember that? You're so
it's
crazy.
just how my brain works. But like, so if you think about like Gemini is ruled by Mercury. So Mercury is the planet that rules the mind. It rules communication. So that's why when Mercury goes retrograde, a lot of tech, a lot of the way we communicate shuts down. So Geminis, which are ruled by Mercury, you have this like way with words. And so a lot of rappers have this like way with words, and you know, they're also very intelligent. Like, I think Kendrick's currently enrolled at UCLA for psychology because he's learning like the way the mind works so he can communicate better. That's a very like Gemini thing to do.
Wow,
but they're
that is
super
so interesting.
intelligent.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be so intelligent to be a rapper. Like, that's just truly so crazy.
Yeah, well, to be a good one, you know, like you think about like the music that Kendrick puts out, the music that Biggie, Tupac, Macklemore, like Macklemore's raps are so smart and they're so lyrical, right? Like, they're like lyrical geniuses. So I think that's like a really big piece of Kendrick, is just how Gemini he is also.
So one thing I have down here is that Kendrick also kind of like disappears, like Taylor does. Is he a projector, or like what is that?
He is not a projector, but he is he has a Chiron in Gemini. So Chiron's like our wounded healer in the zodiac. So if you look at Chiron, it tells you where your wounds are that you came here to heal. So his sun is in Gemini, which is like his brand, his essence, but that's also where his wounds are. And I have a Chiron Gemini also, and there's this sometimes you you doubt yourself in terms of like how people receive you. So I think a lot of times like Gemini Chirons will disappear to go and like make sure they're good with themselves. And then they like come back out when they're ready. It's like, it's a very like, I'm here and then I'm not. I think he has a 2 line in his human design. And the 2 line is also the hermit. So like you're a 5'2", you said, or a 2'5"?
5'2".
I'm a 6'2". So I think you'll relate to this. Like, when you're working on something, when you're like going to create a new offer, like you're in like a building phase, like we disappear. Like, people kind of just like don't know. Like, I'm kind of in a hermit phase right now where I'm like reinventing a lot of my business and like kind of redefining who I want to work with and how I want to work with it. So I kind of will like disappear a little bit. And it's almost like the 2 line has this energy of like, you put your ear to the door of a lab and you're like listening to the scientist in there, like banging around, and you're like, what the are they doing in there? And then when they're ready, they come back out.
Yeah.
That's kind of the energy of a 2 line as well, is you just kind of like will disappear and then come back when you're ready.
Okay.
So I think that's probably what it is.
Is there anything about Kendrick's like chart that makes him like celebrity? Like, Taylor's was very clear, but is there anything about Kendrick's that's like, that is so obvious?
I mean, not really. Like, that's the interesting part. Not really. But he has like water moon. So he's an artist for sure. And I think this is also probably why he's hidden a lot. Like, he's never been like the most famous celebrity. Like, right now he's experiencing a lot of fame because he's really tapped into like his genius.
Yeah.
But you know, he's never been like the most famous rapper. He's never been like super in the headlines. I think he's in the headlines right now because someone wronged him. And again, Libra rising, like, they're the most agreeable, pleasant people until they're not. And when they're not, they're never going to let you forget. They hold grudges. And so I think right now we're seeing him like really front and center because like Drake wronged him and he's like, oh no, like that's not going to stand. So he'll be out in the public as long as he needs to. And then when he feels like he's won or he's gotten, because Libra is all about justice, right? Libra is, it's balance, it's harmony, it's justice. And so he'll be in the spotlight speaking and preaching what he needs to preach until he feels like he won or he got revenge or he got his justice. Then he'll probably disappear a little bit again. But no, I mean, and I think that's a really good question. And that's why he's not like, he's not Beyonce. He's not Taylor Swift. He's not Jay-Z.
Yeah. It's almost like he's famous, like to fulfill this, like he's obviously always been famous, but like he's going through this little burst to like get the justice. And then I could totally see him like kind of chilling out and like, I did what I needed to do. Like we're good now.
Well, and I think with like Gemini, and I think, his North Node's in Cancer. So like his karmic destiny is about like collective energy. So he really comes out when there's like a collective message that we need to hear, right? He's super passionate about politics, but he's also super tribal in that like he loves LA. He loves the West Side. He loves Compton. He loves his hometown. He takes care of his people. He has a very nurturing energy to him. So when he feels like his people are being wronged, too. So like he speaks for Black America a lot. Like that's when we'll see more of him.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Last question for Kendrick, unless there's anything else you want to share. What about his love life? Like what does that
Well, he's
look
a Gemini
like?
Venus. So like Gemini Venuses are, it's like, it's eclectic. It's kind of all over the place. That's why you don't hear a lot about it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure he's married and like, you don't really hear a lot about that. Like, he may not be married, but he's definitely in a relationship. And like, you just like don't hear, he's a dad. Like you just don't hear a lot about it, but like he's a showman. So Geminis that's mutable air. So like when a Gemini performs, like, it, like Kendrick puts on one of the best live shows I've ever seen. Like he's such a performer, but like his love life, like he just really needs like someone that can like keep his mind stimulated. So I would imagine whoever his partner is like also very smart and they probably have very good conversations. Like my wife's a Gemini Venus. She's a Gemini Sun and a Gemini Venus and a Pisces Moon. Actually, they have a lot of similar placements, but like the reason why like she and I work so well together is because I always stimulate her mind and we're always talking about like really deep, esoteric, like out of this world things. And, that works really well for a Gemini and just in the way, but it's like, you think about the way he writes and you think about the way that he like communicates and why we're like attracted to his music and like the way he is like, he has this like charming kind of showman, very smart energy about him. Like we respect him because he writes really well.
Yeah.
And that energy will definitely trickle over into like his love life for sure.
That's so interesting. I had to ask since we dove into Taylor's because we love to ask the girls about their relationships and then the guys were like, whatever. It's like, no.
Oh yeah. We love it.
Is there anything else notable that you want to talk about Kendrick?
No, I think that's it. I mean, I think it's interesting when you look at it's the, like, for me, it's just the most striking thing about him is that Libra. It's that Libra rising of like, you poked the bear, Drake, and now you've crossed a line. And when because Libras are so agreeable, when you piss them off, like, good luck.
Wow. Cross my heart and hope to die. I will never piss off a Libra. I'm scared.
Same.
Oh my God. Okay. Just as we wrap up, I'm just wondering if you have any like thoughts to give the people listening, like if they're curious about astrology or like how they can use it to like leverage their businesses, their careers, their lives.
100%. Yeah. I mean, you absolutely can and you should. Like I always say, like people have no business like being in business unless you like understand your human design and your astrology, because it just provides like the map. Like I look at these things as maps to guide us back to like who we truly are and who we're meant to be. So 100%, like make sure you know how to like learn how to read your chart. I have a masterclass on this. It's literally called Charted, where I teach you how to interpret your own chart. I do readings. Like if you ever, and listen, I'm not, like I always say, like people are like, are you affordable? I'm like, no, I'm not. And like, my prices reflect like my experience with this. So I very much do readings, and you can definitely, and I highly suggest you get a reading with me. And if you want a reading, but like I'm out of your price range, I certify people in this. So I have lots of people I can recommend to you who can do your reading, and I'm happy to do that. But really it's about learning to interpret your own chart. So like for sure, get a reading and like go deep with someone, but like also learn how to read your own chart. And we'll send you the link and everything. But
yeah, we'll
I mean,
link that
Charted
for sure.
it's going to be the best way to do that for sure. And use your placements, like look at your midheaven, look at your Venus, look at like your rising, because these things provide so many codes for how to use them to, to make decisions in business. Like your human design authority, like so many projectors are trying to be generators, and like they're not meant to operate like that, and it's when you learn how to operate based on your design, like A, you heal your burnout. B, you detach from the shoulds and the need tos. You stop running on this hamster wheel, and like business actually gets to be fun, which is the way it's supposed to be. So yeah, I mean, and you can also come hang out with me on Instagram and my podcast. I talk about it a lot all over there. So if you want to learn more about astrology, like listen to my podcast, because it's all there.
Amazing. Yes, you're incredible, truly like a magnetic person. And I'm so grateful that you came on the podcast today. Thank you for being here and sharing all of this wonderful knowledge and just bringing your awesome energy.
Oh my gosh, thanks for having me. And come say hi, friends. Like Danielle _ on the daily, TikTok, Instagram, everywhere. Come say hi.
Perfect. We will send them over, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, bye.